How are we doing, everyone? Mark Joe Szymanski, owner, founder of Find a Tech, here with you today. I want to talk about a concept that I referenced in a couple other videos. I'll put a card up at the top. The link will be in the description. You can go check it out. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a video if you haven't already. But for us web developers, agency owners, freelancers in this space, there's this concept. I've talked about it obviously before. I'm going to talk about it in depth, and I'm going to talk about like an update to my previous line of thinking. This is all surrounding website care plans, website support, hosting and maintenance, whatever the heck you want to call it. But this concept of, if you're a web developer, especially a WordPress web developer, there are multiple services that you have the option of offering. The first one is design or development, or if you separate those out, or if you want to call it strategy, whatever. The idea of something is, if you're a website agency owner or developer, you are building a website, right? That's like, I would call service number one, is development or build or design, whatever the word is. It's like taking a website, if it's a new website, taking it from zero, like nothing, to launched, or if it's a redesign, taking it from the old design to a new design and launched, right? So that is service number one. If you were going to list your actual big services that you offer in this field, that's one, would be build, develop, whatever. That is a different type of service than what we're going to talk about today. The development is generally, very normally, unless you get into like some niche business models that are interesting but not for today's video, that development is a one-time cost, right? It's like maybe it's half up front and half at the end, but it's a fixed cost. It's $10,000, $20,000, whatever it is, for the build out of the website. And then in my mind, they own the website. The client owns the website, and at that point, it's then on to the next service. If you want to try to continue to sell them and continue to build a relationship with them, it is either a website care plan or website support, hosting, maintenance, well, again, whatever you want to call it, but that ongoing relationship where it's normally month to month, maybe year to year. I wouldn't recommend that, but maybe month to month, most likely month to month. And it is what we're going to talk about today, which is the hosting, maintenance, security, whatever it is, whatever you want to throw into those plans. I'm going to give you a brief rundown. Again, check out those other videos of where I've been in my business. And then I'm going to tell you where I'm currently at, because I've evolved many, many times. The first place that I was at in my business was just kind of like from the hip, like really kind of whatever I felt was, fair month to month. There's people on all different levels of plans kind of in my client base right now. And I don't like that. I need to work on fixing that. However, I would recommend to you, if you're starting out or you're just looking at this video as one of your initial research points of, should I offer website care plans and support? What goes into that? How much should I charge? I'm going to show you the trajectory. That's probably the first thing. You're not going to have any idea how much to charge. You're just going to be like, I offer these services and here's a random price for it. I wouldn't recommend that. Then you might go and you hear tiered options are the best. And you might have something like this. Again, whole video on this, website care plans. I show you another video actually how to build this thing. This is just a screenshot now, but this is a jet engine table, dynamic table and everything. You could do something like this. You could do 3 tiers. You could call them whatever you want. You could do a small, medium, and large tier. You could compare what do you get in every one. I am not the biggest fan of this either, and I explained that in that other video where I talk about the reason that I moved from this. I really like this concept. I really like how this is designed and laid out, but the problem with this concept for me is that now we get really complex in the business model itself. Now I have to actually ask myself every single time I talk to a client, where are they on these tiers? Am I only updating the stuff monthly? Am I only updating it weekly? What have you? Do they have content time from me? Do they have an hourly rate discount? It's just muddy. There's so much here. It makes it so much more complex than it needs to be. And again, you're not even trying to get people on the small one, because depending on how your numbers are, you're trying to get them on, at least on the professional. It's the most popular. There's a lot of sales tools in here, you're price anchoring with this big number and trying to get them to fall in the middle because, it just looks the best. Looks like they're getting a good value for all this stuff. Just, you can explore that more. If tiers are right for you, then explore that. However, where I was at this stage, and I was like, I really don't want to do this. I want to be and again, it depends on your business model and type of clients you want to service, but I wanted to be dealing with bigger clients that were dealing with more expensive websites and are more serious in what they're trying to do and require like more engagement or resources, whatever. And I just wanted to deal with the higher numbers, like less volume, but higher like sale price or higher monthly is kind of the concept, right? Less clients at higher prices rather than more clients at lower prices was the concept, okay? So if you watch that other video, I went from this topic to, or that like methodology to something that was like a little more, this is a mess, but something that was more like everything like that for one price. And I kind of came up with like an $800 support plan. So one plan, so instead of 3 things, you kind of get almost all of this $1,400 stuff, with maybe the exception of a few things, for $800. Now, I thought that was a great deal. I'm going to show you why it wasn't a good deal. It wasn't a good deal for me, and it wasn't a smart business play here in a second, because now I have kind of, again, retooled my thinking after pitching that to a couple people and talking to a couple people about that, because I really think now this new mindset that I have is the one that you should adopt if you're really trying to think about this, at least something to try. So all that bearing in mind, let's see where we've gone. I learned from other business people like kind of how to like devise something that actually makes sense as far as like a product offering. I'm going to explain what this chart is and kind of how this all relates to what we're talking about here now. So the support plan, if you're trying to think of a support plan, let's think of what the essence of a support plan is. It is a monthly service offering that you are going to do XYZ, LMIP items for a given price. You're either going to provide the service or you're going to be like utilizing another service, like giving the client a service and managing that service on their behalf. That could be hosting, that could be a security thing, it could be whatever. I'm going to go through all these, but that's the essence of it, right? So it's monthly recurring revenue, and it's vital in this industry because you never know when your next project is going to be, you never know how much it's going to be. I would highly recommend that if that's the question that you need to answer, I would highly recommend you consider offering the ongoing support, hosting, maintenance, whatever you want to call it. Now, how though do you set that up is a really hard question, and so many different people have different options and different ways of thinking about it. But I yearn for like a standardized method that still sells well enough for me to potentially upsell from, and more importantly for me and my business, not get bogged down from. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Let's go through this chart. The first thing you have to establish is how much your time is worth. Okay, I would say in this industry, if you're building a business and you go less than $75, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. And again, let me preface this: I'm in the United States of America, so it's probably different in your areas. But just take that into account, like whatever that is. Like, don't go low. You need a significant amount of like profit, and not even just profit, but like overhead costs. You're gonna have overhead costs. You should try to keep it as lean as possible because it's an industry where you're lucky you can, but at the same time, like you need to have at least a certain thing. So I can't tell you exactly what to do, but I'm gonna explain kind of how I've derived, what I'm looking at here. So I'm saying 150. I know I'm a skilled developer. I know I have the technical knowledge. And the other piece that I would say, if you're in this field, if you can get good at understanding the business use cases and the business knowledge, you're going to be such a more valuable asset than if you're just like a developer that's just taking orders and just spitting out a website. That is way more valuable. Like those two things together, technical knowledge and business acumen, I mean, that is a recipe for a very, very successful business if you can master those two. Or not even master, just like get proficient and try to like and enjoy and continue to improve on those things. That's where I'm at. I'm setting that rate at $150 an hour. So, and I don't like, there's a whole nother discussion on hourly billing. That's not really what this is, but that is like, if you have to break it down to what your time's worth, put some semblance of a number on it. So I'm saying 150. We can have a separate discussion on if you think that's too high or too low or whatever, but that's what it is for this example and what we're running with here. Cost plus percentage. Now, this is an interesting methodology that is really the basis for everything that you do, but it's not like the almighty thing, but it's a very, very good place to start. And I hadn't heard of it explained to me like this until a colleague of mine explained it to me, and we worked through some things like this. So cost plus is like your cost of goods sold. I think sometimes in this industry it's called cost to deliver, like, you know, whatever it is, but because COGS is like a little weird in our industry because there's not really like there's not like material that's going into building something. It doesn't really matter, but your cost of goods sold is your cost. Like however much it costs you to for this plan every month, however much money it costs you, that plus we're establishing a percentage here, plus your percentage. So that's kind of like, in this case, it's kind of your markup. There's also like, I'm still not proficient with the terms of like markup, margin, and everything like that. So if I get some of those wrong, I apologize. But the idea here is it's your cost, and then you take 50% of that and you add it on. That's the idea. So if it costs you $100, something costs you $100 to create and to deliver to the client, then you charge them $150. That is too basic an example, but that's the concept. So so you make like $50 off that, you know, when you take the 150 minus the 100. So you make that 50, and maybe that's profit, maybe it goes to other things or whatever. But, you know, there's a lot of methodologies on how to do this, but I'm giving you like a super standardized and super simple version of this. Okay, so with those two things in mind, that's what we're kind of operating off of for some of our constants, you know, we'll say. The next thing you should do is you should really develop a solid stack of how you're going to develop these websites, and you should try to be as lean as possible, but you should also be as professional as possible, in my opinion. There are certain things that I don't understand why exactly people do, but maybe I'm just uneducated on why. I'm never ever going to host like more than one website on the same server ever again. Like, I understand that that's probably not the worst thing in the world, but at the same time, like, if something happens to one website or something happens to a server, I don't want multiple websites to be affected by a server problem. And again, we're not hosting these servers like in our basement. We're partnering with companies to do this. And I don't know, you know, what that entails, what that doesn't entail, you know, completely from the technical side. I don't want to do that. I don't like, you're paying me for this, for hosting. I am not like going to try to up my margins on hosting because I'm putting multiple websites on the same server. Also, just as an anecdote, every single time I've ever done that, when you get to a certain point, the server gets really bogged down because many websites are trying to be served, like clients are trying to hit like multiple websites on that same server. It's just never worked out for me. And the sites are so much faster when they're on their own server, and then coupled with some other things. So that was a little bit of just a general, you know, overview of my experience with that. Do whatever you want, but I'm going to tell you kind of like what I have here and give you some tips on this. So most of this stuff is similar to that other video as far as the things that are in here, but I'll tell you why I've changed this and what the key thing for me, I think, is going to be as far as the mindset on these support plans moving forward. DigitalOcean cloud hosting is number one item via Cloudways is what we currently use. The status is just like, if you were looking at this on the front end of the website, what is the modifier? Is it like a yes? Is it like, you know, daily, or is it monthly, whatever? So it's just like how frequent, or yes or no of those things. So yes, they're going to have DigitalOcean cloud hosting. Our COGS for that is $28 a month. These are all monthly figures, right? Because we're doing it on a monthly basis. So our price, like the actual price that it costs them in a sense, is $42 because it's 28 plus 50% of 28, which is 14, and then add it, and then it's there. Now, if you want this like template thing here, this is just a Google sheet. I will put this somewhere and you can download it. It's got some formulas in here. It's nothing crazy. But yeah, so it's just like, it takes that, it rounds it up. That's it. You know, it does the calculation there and, you know, creates it. The next thing here is value equivalent. Now, this is a tough one because this is a real thing. Like, it's a real consideration and a real, it's an important piece of information, but it's not necessarily something that you should share per se. I don't want to say you shouldn't share it, but like the idea of this column, okay, is if you have a client where you give them a price for monthly stuff and they say, wow, that's a little high. I could like do like a Squarespace thing, you know, the general thing, or I could do like WordPress.com or something like that and it's cheaper. Or they want to just do it themselves and like source all the things, right? You have to understand like how much value you are giving them in exchange for the amount of like cost it actually costs you, and then what you're charging them. So meaning, if they wanted to replace that, they're probably going to pay the same price. This comes really into play when you talk about software licenses. So if we have an agency license of Elementor, we're paying way less than you would pay, per website, than you would pay for one website. We pay, I don't know, I think it's $150, maybe it's more or less, for 1,000 websites per year. So $150 per year for 1,000 websites. The client would have to pay, I think, like $50 or $60 just to have one, and that's per year. Now, maybe that doesn't matter to them. Maybe they're fine with paying that. But my point is, that is the value equivalent that you are able to pass on, because you're able to get things at more of a bulk price. And if at any point they wanted to be like, okay, we don't want to use you anymore, we're just going to go get hosting at GoDaddy or something, be like, that's totally fine. Go ahead and do that. But just so you know, it's a website. This is a video for a different time because I'm working on the website owner's manual from the admin bar. I'm putting that thing on steroids. But the point is, if your client says to you, I want to go host on GoDaddy, can you tell me everything, whatever, about my website so I can do whatever, you're going to tell them 6 different things that you used to build that website that are all costing you money, but at a more of an overhead scale. They're going to need to replace those things, and then they're going to be paying a lot more, is the point. So that's the value equivalent in my mind. Is these are the things that this is how much this stuff would cost you if you went and did it on your own, is kind of the concept there. Again, you don't really need to say that unless it's necessary, but that is an important bit of information to just have calculated in a way. So that's the concept. All right, next one is SSL certificate. Yes, they get it, and it's technically $0. It's included with the hosting through Cloudways, 000. Cool. Everybody needs an SSL certificate. Sometimes people pay for them. In 2023, I don't think it makes any sense to pay for an SSL certificate. I think there's a lot of free options out there. 24/7 uptime monitoring. So yes, they get it. The COGS is technically $3 per month, and the price would be then $5. Now, this is where these all get a little sticky, and I don't even some of these are not even they're not even illustrated well because of this. Uptime monitoring. This is through iRobot, or Uptime Robot. iRobot's a great movie. So that is if you're using a bulk license, right? If you're gonna have I want to say it's 50 websites, and you're gonna be paying, I don't know what it is per month. I can't think of off the top of my head, but my point is that's not a direct cost to the client. So you need to make sure that you're almost dividing and doing that percentage accordingly. It's a little difficult because there's different schools of thought on that. I mean, you could just charge everybody the amount of money that you pay for the service, or you could charge 10%, or you could just be if you have 20 clients, then if you have 20 clients and the license is 20 things, then you just divide it and you just give a percentage to every single client. I'm not telling you exactly how to do that. Again, some of these numbers are really small anyway, so you just got to make sure that you get enough. You know what I mean? We're not talking oh, it's $300 for this software or whatever, and you're trying to break all that up. So just try to be as cognizant as possible on these other ones, that you are making the money back that you are spending on all of your clients in some way, right? And most of the time that happens in the margin or the markup, but just be cognizant of that. So SendGrid, Google Spam, Google reCAPTCHA for spam monitoring, security vulnerability, monitoring and patching. There's a million out there. I mean, iThemes, I'm looking at PatchStack, a lot of different things there. Again, just make sure you adjust your numbers accordingly. On-site and off-site backups. So don't just take it on the server, please. Don't. Save it also, use Updrafts Plus and put it on Google Drive or something like that. We're doing daily backups, daily redundant backups with a 5-day history. So you have all of that. Before it starts overwriting, you have a 5-day history of that. Daily WordPress theme plugin updates, all of that, daily checks and updates for that. Performance monitoring daily, and then website support reports monthly. And the reason that's 50 is because I think that'll take about 20 minutes. And again, put yourself a little bit of wiggle room, but those are kind of automated, but I still need to oversee them. So the idea there is just, again, this is the reason the rate's in there, because if any of this takes extra amount of your time, make sure you account for the time that you are putting in. So in this case, I just did like, a third of it. So roughly that's like equates to like 20 minutes, and then you do the cost plus and you're up to 75. Website technical support, that's a tough one because it may not happen. You could just kind of leave it at 0 or put it at a low number or whatever. But the one thing I'm trying to avoid here, and you'll see it as we get through this and I give you the actual overview and the reason that I've done this in my new perspective, is I'm trying to avoid having clients, two things. I'm trying to avoid working more than I'm getting paid for, and I'm trying to avoid clients paying for things that they are not actually benefiting from or getting any value from. That is the two things that I'm trying to avoid. So to illustrate that, like the next three things are actual like pieces of software that cost money, that are licensed software per website that you get, and they have costs associated, as you can see, and then they we do our little formula there. But NitroPack is for caching and speed optimization. Accessibility is for accessibility. Termageddon is for legal policies. And then we have all of our software licenses, which they benefit from, like Elementor, Jet Engine, this, that, and the other thing. And that's kind of like broken up into, like a smaller number across all the clients. And then ultimately that's what we get. So all that being said, the COGS for like a month is like 148 with all of that stuff considered. Roughly, the COGS plus is 225. The value equivalent is 167. So that means that the value equivalent side, it's a little tough because again in here like I don't really have anything because all those are kind of like time based. It's definitely a lot more. I mean, if you were trying to do this yourself, it's going to be like the value equivalent. This is actually probably, I don't know, probably closer to like $300. So I mean, they're getting a deal because if you actually factor in like how much it would take for them to set all this up or to buy the certain things or whatever, I mean, it's serious. And this is like where you get into the conversation of why it's important to have an actual professional, on your team and on your side as a business. So that's really where that conversation evolves. Let me explain though a couple things. One, if you look at this chart, okay, what do you not see in here? You do not see any like updates. You don't see any update time, like not the like theme updates. You don't see any like content update time. You don't see any tasks like I'm going to do this amount of tasks per month for you. You don't see anything like I want to create a plan, and now this is my new methodology. That other plan was like, oh, I'm gonna do everything for you, and I'm gonna I'll even give you a bunch of time in there, like give you 2 hours of my time to do whatever you want, and maybe like some like free upgrades or something like that. No. The reason I say no is because one, I want to work with bigger clients, but I still have clients of all sizes. So literally the way that this happened was that I pitched the $800 idea to somebody and they said, that's too much money per month for our business to handle for those things. The value is not aligned. Not that the value isn't aligned, but it doesn't make sense from the business perspective. Some clients might be like, yeah, that makes total sense. Like the value we get from that $800, totally, is perfect. We can afford $800. Boom, boom, boom. Let's sign the deal. I think though, especially with probably a lot of people out there that are making websites nowadays, you need a smaller plan to actually sell. And when I say sell, it needs to be, we know that every website needs hosting, maintenance, security, all these things. I think that this set of items at this price, at a $225 or maybe a $250, is the best you can get for that amount of money. The amount of value that is packed into this plan at $250 is an absolute steal. And from a business perspective on our side, we barely do anything for this $250. And I'm not saying that as a fact of if client watches this or a prospect watches this, we're literally not doing anything. We're just bringing this in. No, we are you can literally see the numbers here. We're not making $250. We're not doing that. We're making certain money on some of the things that we're doing for our time or whatever, but that's called business, right? And everybody has a markup and a margin associated with it. So, but the concept though here and where the real value is, we've created this thing, and I encourage you to steal this, okay? I encourage you to steal it. Go ahead, go do it and implement it in your business, because I'm sharing everything that we're doing here as we build this, the mistakes and everything. So this package is rivals that of the Wixes and the Squarespaces that have these super low prices. But on top of that though, you have access to us at least, like a super bare minimum level here for like the emergency stuff. And then also we're developing a relationship where like if you want to create, like if we do a website development and then you start getting on the support, and then you come back and you say, hey, Mark, I want to add like this member portal, or I want to add this, that, or the other thing in on our website. Now there's already a relationship built there, and then we can just do like a mini project to build that portion of the site out or something. That's really what I'm about. I want to see businesses grow. The problem though is not every business is ready to grow at a moment's notice or when you start the relationship with them. And that is what I totally like miscalculated, or not I miscalculated. I just didn't give enough time to really like fully like develop. But for the time being though, if you want to work with companies that are kind of like either starting out or not like in a huge growth phase, you need to have something like this. So you might be wondering, Mark, well, why don't I just do the tiers? That sounds like it solves everything. I don't necessarily disagree with that anymore. I don't think that, so if we look at this program or this platform, this thing, and then we look at this, here's my problem with the tiers still. I like the tier idea. I really do. The problem is with the way that I laid this one out originally is that there's too much difference in the standard shit. Like I am not going to change like the way that I update plugins per site. That's not smart. I think that you need to have daily update plugins or at least checks or at least like at minimum, at like the longest term, like weekly, you need to have some sort of a thing. These, especially this last like month and a half, things are getting vulnerabilities found left and right. You got to be updating that stuff. So I don't even feel comfortable updating stuff monthly. I don't want to create put people in a position where it's like I'm jeopardizing their website. So I'm not going to do that. So my point there is like there's a little bit of a difference here, and this standard plan here was kind of similar to what we have now, and it's a great deal. So I'm happy that like that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of where we ended up falling, like in that 250 range. I think that's an incredible deal for the baseline of support that you need on a website. I do. Now here comes the question. What do we do when somebody needs more than that or wants more than that? Or how do we upsell, or how do we give them more value than just the standard stuff? I am in kind of a fork in the road here, and I don't know necessarily where to go. Option A is you have one or two more, like I think there's three options actually, like total and ways to go here. Option one is you have the tiers again, and you somehow take the second tier, and what you're layering in there is not like more, it's not necessarily more stuff, it's more time. That's the thing, is like the standard person, the regular person, the lay person that doesn't know about websites thinks that websites subconsciously are a commodity. They think that you can just go to Wix. You can, but like you're not going to build a good website if you don't know what you're doing. You're not, right? So like as professionals, we have to understand that like some people need the baseline. That's totally fine. Do your thing. We'll host your website. It'll be great. It'll be fine. It'll never go down. But you're not really getting any of our time. Like that's not something that's going to happen. Like that's the commodity level in a way. We're not helping you. It's literally like I got a great analogy from a colleague. He's like, imagine we make a painting. So we build the beautiful website. It's like a painting. And then we put that on the wall in our client's house. They own it. And then the minimum support plan is kind of like every month we come to the house and we dust it off. And that's it. It doesn't change in any way. It just remains the same, and it's fine. It doesn't fall off the wall, and we just dust it, right? So like the next thing up would be like actual material things, or that would be the upsell. Is like you can, maybe you add in more development time, or maybe you add in like a website strategy call every month, or something like that. I want to do those things. I just can't do those at a $250 price point. I really can't. So now you're starting to get into like actual real value. You try to reel them in with the simple plan, like the actual the little one, and then the next step of it is you actually start adding like real solid value. Now you can do this again, like I said, in multiple ways. One is tiers. You could try the tier thing. I haven't figured it out yet. I'll update you when my next iteration is. The next thing though that I'm thinking, and what I think might be actually even easier in a sense, is a different service, a third service, a level 3. So you have level 1 is development, you have level 2 is support to that development, and level 3 is growth. So growth is going to be things like SEO, conversion rate optimization, and actual strategy. So that starts layering things like monthly strategy calls where you're talking to your client every single month, and you're actually, you're not like completely gone and like completely just vanished in that first category like we talked about. You're giving them actual helpful information, feedback, maybe analytics onto how their website's performing and how they can get better. And that is where I want to be, and that's where I want to live. But you have to have those basics in play, and then the basics from there can, maybe you can upsell to the next plan. But that's, I think, what I'm going to ultimately do. I think I'm going to have a support plan, super affordable. And if you can't afford that, or if you don't want to afford that, like, let's just go to GoDaddy or something, because this is what I feel that you absolutely need for a business. And this is way more affordable than the $800 thing that I was trying to sell. That was like a mismatch, like a hodgepodge of commodity services and time. And I can't do that because it gets too like messy. So yeah. So, and some other notes that I had down here. It's important to understand this plan does not affect anything on the front end of the website. So like that's a big, going back to the painting analogy, it's a big expectation you have to manage. You are going to pay this money and you're not going to see anything. So you may be like, in 6 months, why am I paying this money? I am telling you right now, you are getting a steal of value, and rate like a phone call away is the growth plan, or some semblance of like it would probably have to be a custom growth plan because not everybody's going to be similar in that regard. But like some semblance of a growth strategy, whether it's SEO, CRO, or just like in general, like a monthly brainstorm call or something like that you can layer in to the next level. It's like, this is what you're getting for this. I understand that you're not going to know, like, you're not really going to understand this value because a lot of stuff is technical, but I'm telling you that everything in here is contributing to you having a reliable website, a fast website, and a compliant website. The next, and access to me in emergencies. Huge one. The next level, if you want more value, like a ton more value, is growth. That's where you want to be. I'm really feeling strongly about kind of where that's at now. So what other notes we got down here? So from our experience, these items are essential to run a serious business website. Yes. And then if you want help growing your website, check out level 3, our growth plan. And then make note that the websites are not on their own server. That's just something that I like to say there. So that's kind of where we're at. I don't really have too crazy of and this video is like just specifically about the support, but as an update to everything that I've done, everywhere that I've been through, I am starting to feel like this is the way to do this. You have one support plan, but it's affordable. It's not crazy. And then you have growth plan. You have growth services where it's like, if you want to be the business person and you want to be like the person that can like talk to a client and be like, yes, you have A, B, and C problem in your business or hurdle. These pieces of technology and this implementation can solve those problems. Let's talk about that. Let's work out a solution, and then let's create like a mini project for us to develop onto your existing website that we built and that we support. And I'm really excited about it. So this video has gotten a little longer than I like, but probably shorter than the average video on my channel. So I'm happy about that. Listen, guys, I'm gonna have all this stuff in the description below. Check out those other videos if any of this was a little confusing or didn't make full sense into the other stuff we were talking about there. But this is currently where I'm at. Again, you guys are growing alongside me here as far as like the stuff that I am trying to do, and I'm going to try to continue to explain exactly the journey that we're on and what's working, what's not working, what we want to change. But I feel really strongly about this. Development, one support plan, custom growth services. Really feel strongly about that. I really do. It's separating out the commodity from the actual like solid the perceived commodity to the real value, and really going to save a lot of time if you manage expectations. That has been my single in 4 years of doing this. I'll leave you with this. In 4 years of doing this, screwing myself by not charging accurately for the amount of time that I put in is the single biggest reason that like for any reason of like me like not being where I should, or like just the biggest loss of money. It's easily the biggest loss of money. There's so much value, you got to make sure you charge for the value. That's pretty much it. Okay, I'm done. Make sure you guys like the video if you got any value out of it. Comment any questions you have. If you think I'm wrong, if you think I'm right, if you want to just fight in the comments, I'm more than happy to engage in whatever questions or anything you have. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content and you want to continue to see the journey. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I greatly appreciate it, and I will talk to you in the next one.